We'll start with some news from the company here, Sawyer Mayer from X. Thank you so much for bringing our attention to this. Folks have started to get their limited edition Foundation Series Cybertrucks for order. So now people can go in. There's a few number of folks that are getting an email that are non-employees. And the email looks like this, in case you're not familiar with it. Your limited edition Foundation Series Cybertruck is ready to order. Now, since Sawyer has great hookups, he got about 150 people DMing him, so sending him a personal message on X with proof that Tesla has invited those folks to configure and order a Foundation Series Cybertruck. Now, if we ask Grok, which is X's AI tool, what is in the Cybertruck Foundation Series, we can see that it comes with things like Laser Edge Foundation Series badging, premium connectivity, which is for the internet, a unique 3-headed Cybertruck emblem on the truck, and a bunch of other stuff. And it looks like they're going to be making around 1,000. I don't know if that's super verified or accurate, but it will be a limited number of trucks, and those trucks will have a $20,000 essentially surplus on top of the $100,000 or $80,000 specs that you can order from Tesla right now, which are both the Cyber Beast at $100,000 or the all-wheel drive version at $80,000. Now, there's also folks that have gone out there and they're looking at how much insurance could cost for the Cybertruck. Here's Gregor Truck from X. Shout out Greg. Insurance quote for Cybertruck all-wheel drive. Looks like he got a quote for the Cybertruck. This is the dual motor version, not the Cyber Beast, of $188 per month with a 6-month premium of $1,100. In addition to that, there was a test that was done by CarWow. So CarWow is an awesome publication for auto enthusiasts where they compared the Tesla Cybertruck to the F-150 Raptor R, which is Ford's sort of top-of-the-line model if you want a super fast, off-road capable Ford F-150. And they have some stats comparing those two vehicles. They have the Tesla Cybertruck with that coming in at around $96,000, which is that Cyber Beast version, and the F-150 Raptor R, this one's coming in at $109,000. And the reason why this comparison is fascinating is that they did a drag race of the F-150 Raptor and the Cybertruck, but the Cybertruck was on a on a dirt road, and they had a race to see which one would reach 100 meters first. And so here is Matt in the F-150 Raptor. Here's his buddy. I think his buddy is Sam in the Cybertruck. And you can see that after a 100-meter race, the Cybertruck reached the the end point quicker than the F-150 Raptor did, which is actually really, really fascinating, a very unique comparison. Make sure you go check out CarWow for that, either on X or you can also find it on YouTube. Now, again, what's very interesting about this sort of comparison is that as we think about the Cybertruck and how much it's selling for now, the $100,000 and $120,000 versions, those are going to be limited edition. Those are not going to be sort of the long-term pricing for the truck. As you can see here, Tesla's planning on selling a $61,000 model, hopefully by the end of 2024 into 2025. And they also have an $80,000 and $100,000 version that you can order now, but if you want it, let's say in the next 2 to 3 months, by the end of March at the latest, they're asking for that Foundation Series deposit. And then once those are depleted, my assumption is they'll start delivering the $80,000 and $100,000 spec. And once they're comfortable with those, they can start delivering the $61,000 spec. If I compare that to, say, the F-150 Raptor, just as a starting base price for this vehicle, Ford has a ton of different versions of the F-150. The Raptor starts at around $76,000-ish as I scroll down their website. There we go. $76,000. Then you can add a ton of options like, different engine, different trim, different wheels, different tires, so on and so forth, to the point where you can get a F-150 Raptor that will start or will end up at around $109,000, which was a direct comparison they did between the Cybertruck and the F-150 Raptor. Now, the super interesting stuff here that I want to bring your attention to is really around how much attention the Cybertruck has been getting after the event, after the delivery event, which was November 30th. I think what's fascinating here is that even though there has been a lot of, let's say, a huge amount of hype when the event came through, and then we're a week and a half-ish away from that delivery event now, typically what you see is that sort of hype starts to die down. People are like, oh, it's got delivered, I'm going to chill. But it's still very fascinating to see how this vehicle is trending versus the rest of the lineup. So if I do just a very simple Google Trends search, you can go to Google Trends, I think .com or trends.google.com. It's available to everybody. You can see that you can type in a search term. So I typed in Tesla Cybertruck, and I did it for the past 7 days, which is a little bit after the delivery event. You can see that back in December 2nd, so a couple days after the delivery event, there was still a lot of interest, and it sort of died down, and it's now more in its, let's say, its normal phase moving forward. But what's even more interesting is if you look at how much interest there is for the Cybertruck by metro area, or by like loosely like zip code areas in the United States. And you can see that there's a ton of attention for it in Austin, Texas area. The darker the blue, the more attention there is, or there's more interest for that truck in that area. So you can see it's very much centered around central Texas here and some of the western states, with pockets in Florida and so on and so forth. Now, what's super interesting here is if I compare the same exact thing to, say, the Tesla Model Y, and I do the same exact search, so the past 7 days, of course, you didn't have a Model Y reveal, but looking at the last 7 days, you can kind of get a gauge of the overall interest that you're going to get for the vehicle long term. You can see that if I look at the metro area for the Model Y, it looks very different. It's primarily focused, the darkest blues are by far on the West Coast. So if I do a side-by-side, look at the Cybertruck, right? And look at the Model Y. Cybertruck, Model Y. One more time. Cybertruck, Model Y. So what's fascinating here is that the Cybertruck seems to be hitting the areas that the Model Y isn't or hasn't traditionally. And what's so fascinating about this is that when you think about electric vehicles, you think about Tesla, you think about their long-term success. You know, if Tesla wants to be successful, they have to cater to everybody. What's very interesting now with the release of the Cybertruck, at least the initial interest, there seems to be a lot more plugging of the holes or the gaps that Tesla traditionally has struggled in, which is middle America, the southern states, folks that, let's say, love their pickup trucks, they love their gas cars, nothing wrong with that at all. But what's really cool to see is that now we have data that sort of backs this up, that as the Cybertruck has come out, some of these gaps are being filled. And of course, we're not even talking about the Cybertruck actually being on the road. And let's say when I get mine, I bring my buddy Travis along, who's got an F-250 and he's been driving pickup trucks his whole life. I'm curious to see what his take is going to be, and taking it to his friend's house and stuff. So I wonder how that's going to change this picture. And that's what I'm very interested to see here in the coming months and years as the Cybertruck really starts to take hold. So once again, Cybertruck there, and then Tesla Model Y there. What's also interesting, it's going to be interesting to look at, is if I compare Tesla Cybertruck, Tesla Model Y, and Tesla Model 3 side by side, and this is for the last day, so literally the last 24 hours, so we're completely taking out any sort of craziness around the delivery event that existed, you can see that overall, the Tesla Model 3 and Tesla Model Y still have more attention than the Cybertruck, but the Cybertruck's not that far away. It's a little bit less, but it's not that far away. And remember, there's barely any of these on the road right now. And then here's the same exact graph, but for those three models. So the blue is the Cybertruck, the Y is red, and then yellow is the Model 3. And you can see, again, that sort of trend we just talked about is still there. The pockets of blue come from traditional sort of non-Tesla areas, or non-electric pickup truck or electric vehicle period areas, that are now starting to show up blue because of the Cybertruck. And you have the yellow and the red becoming a little bit it's more coastal. It's more towards like either side of the United States, but the blue is predominantly coming up in the middle. So again, this is yet another signal that shows, and shout out Alaska. Alaska loves their Cybertruck. I'm not surprised to hear that. So again, it's this interesting strategy that Tesla's taking with the Cybertruck now. Whatever they did, it seems to be resonating with a different demographic than Tesla is typically used to. And what's another check here, which is very fascinating to track, is if we do Cybertruck versus Rivian R1T versus F-150 Lightning, which are Tesla's primary competitors from an EV truck perspective, you can see that, and this is for the last day again, so we take out the delivery event entirely, and we haven't had any Cybertrucks on the road. I don't know, man, you tell me if you think this data says anything because this was striking to me. You can see that there's a lot more interest for the Cybertruck, the blue line, than the other two models. And if we look at it from a metro perspective, so again, if we look at the Google Trends for the last day to see how often people let's say search for each one of those three things and how much interest there is. So blue is Cybertruck, red is Rivian, yellow is Ford F-150 Lightning. Cybertruck absolutely dominates the story when it comes to Google search trends. Again, if that is a good measure of understanding potentially how much demand there is for the vehicle versus competition, this might be a good way of measuring it. Giant domination by the Tesla Cybertruck. Perhaps we shouldn't be surprised because they've been around a lot longer and a lot more people know about them, although they don't advertise in the United States. So that's one thing to keep in mind. And then you have pockets of the Rivian performing well, and the F-150 Lightning is nowhere to be seen, unfortunately. So this was a very interesting graph. This is maybe a sign of things to come as far as the Tesla Cybertruck's success, especially as Tesla tries to get to 200 to 250,000 units sold per year. But in the entire picture, it's still, as much as we're looking at this here, what I really want to start sort of thinking through is that although it appears that Tesla, at least at the beginning, is not just getting raving reviews, it's not just grabbing a ton of attention, it's not just having these insane comparisons versus its competition where it's dominating, it's still a drop in the bucket in the pickup truck market. And we can see it very, very clearly by looking at this graph. So if I do Tesla Cybertruck versus F-150, just not the Lightning, just straight up F-150, and I look at the last 24 hours, so I delete anything that is related to the delivery event whatsoever. It's just literally last 24 hours interest just in the United States. You can see that F-150 period is red, and then you can see it by metro area, right? So no one knows about the Cybertruck. It's literally the only ones that are looking for the Cybertruck as compared to the F-150 are all in California, if you just compare those two things. So what's going to be super interesting to track, and this is what I'm going to be doing every single day here on this channel, because I'm so fascinated about the electric vehicle market and just the auto market in general, is I'm going to track these trends super, super closely. I'm going to see how the Cybertruck's going to perform in real world tests. When I get mine, I'm going to test the hell out of it in real world scenarios with people that actually use trucks on a daily basis. And I'm curious to see if and how this graph changes. Because for Tesla's long-term success and for Tesla's ability to have a successful electric pickup truck that it actually caters to the masses, there has to be a lot more blue in the long term in this graph for this to be called, I would say, a long-term success. So I'm going to be tracking this very, very closely. And if you enjoyed this content, throw me a like and subscribe. And if you want to support the channel, links in the description below. Thank you so much. I hope you have a fantastic weekend. Bye-bye.